Welcome to The Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
Hey everyone, welcome to Bold Book of the Day. My name is Dr. Denise Nicholson. This podcast is for anyone looking for inspiration. Today's episode is with Dr. Kameika Hinson. Despite Dr. Kameika Hinson's many roles as a medical laboratory scientist, minister, and a grief coach, the one role she's always wanted to play since childhood was that of a mother. However, in 2007, her motherhood dreams were halted when she was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. Tipping the scale at an alarming 419 pounds, she knew that she needed surgical help with losing weight. In July 2015, Kameika had bariatric surgery and she slowly emerged into the woman that she always knew existed behind the weight. In 2017, Kameika became pregnant before losing her baby to a miscarriage. Although heartbroken, her calling from God to help others became clear. Dr. Kameika is now the president of Chasing Rainbows Grief Coaching Services, LLC. She's also the founder and CEO of her nonprofit organization called Jeremiah's Journey to Healing Ministries. She teaches women who have had pregnancy or infant loss how to cope, heal, and flourish through purpose discovery and storytelling. Kameika is furthering her services by pursuing her doctorate in ministry while focusing on Christian counseling. Dr. Hinson is the author of her debut solo book, I Lost My Baby, and Now It's Time to Find My Mind. Please welcome, welcome. It's so good to have you, Dr. Hinson. How are you today?
I am excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
You look fabulous. I love the pink on you.
Thank you. Pink is actually my favorite color.
Oh, well, I see why. I see why. You look really rosy. It's beautiful on you. Now, tell me about who you are and what brought you to write this book.
I am just a girl, little country girl who always wanted to be a mother. But then I was diagnosed with PCOS. So my dreams of becoming a mother were I had very slim chances. But I knew that I could lose weight and it would help my chances of becoming pregnant. So I had surgery and I got pregnant, but it ended in miscarriage. So I've started going to counseling, and my counselor challenged me to find a support group. I couldn't find a support group because we mostly suffer in silence. So I just decided that, okay, well, I'll start my own support group. I did that. And then I decided that all of the things that I've gone through because we suffer in silence, I just decided to put that in a book.
That was very smart and brilliant of you to say, you know what? I don't see anything around that fits what I need. I'm going to create what I need. Yeah.
Yes.
So many women shy away from creating, not just women, so many people shy away from creating the need. They have a gap. They see the gap. They're living in it. And instead of creating what they need, they just throw their hands up in the air and like, oh, it doesn't exist. But you on the other end was like, you know what? It doesn't exist. I'm gonna create it.
Hmm.
Now, how was it creating this support system? Did you find help or did you have resources?
Ooh, no. It started out as a connect group in my church.
Hmm.
But what I was finding is that a lot of women, they would private message me. They didn't want to be seen coming to sign up for that support group.
What?
Uh-huh. So a lot of them reached out to me via Facebook or so I was like, you know what? This has to change
Yes.
because so many women are ashamed. They they suffer with guilt. And I'm
Mm,
like, no, we've got to change this. We've got to normalize talking about what happened.
yes. And so, did you have a regular meeting place, or did you guys just talk over the phone or during the chat?
Well, I was going to set up like a meeting space at a local library or something, but they didn't want to attend.
Because of the whatever they were feeling. Okay. Do you find that there's a lot of shame or just misunderstanding? What's holding people back from sharing what they're going through?
I think it's maybe the judgment that other people will pass upon them. So they just don't talk about it. They suffer in silence.
Mm. Now, when you first started your support group, what was the biggest challenge for you?
Well, I wasn't healed when I started the support group.
Mm-hmm.
So constantly talking about it and trying to help other people, it was hard. It was
Mm-hmm.
hard. So I would listen to their stories and then I would go and cry myself to sleep.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
It was a very heavy subject, but
So, oh my goodness. So you were providing support in that support group, but you didn't have the support. You didn't get that support that you needed initially.
no, I didn't. No.
How did you begin to get the support so you can start your healing journey?
I'm basically my therapist,
Okay.
but other than that, I just kept talking about it and kept
Yeah.
being open about it. And eventually it became like something that I'm known for. So now
Yeah.
people will just gravitate towards me.
Wow. I always preach. My mantra is stand on your story. Because when you stand on your story, one, you connect with others. When you stand on your story, two, you see that other people have problems like you.
Hmm.
You see that you're not the only one. And four, you see that, oh my goodness, some people got it worse than me. So it's good to stand on your story so you can get a better view and a better perspective of what happened in your life or what is going on in your life. And I find, and the studies have shown too, that the more you talk about your story, the more people you tell, the more Uber drivers you share it with, honey. The more you share your story, the more you heal. Because when you are sharing your story, you are not just saying words, you're actually connecting meaning to the words. And it helps to heal your mind, and it helps to heal your body, and it helps to heal your mental health.
Yes.
How
Yes.
was your mental health when you were going through it?
Woo. I I actually started going to the counselor because I felt like I was having a mental breakdown.
Yes.
I felt like I was going to be the next breaking story because one of my old coworkers made a comment. And the comment was, well, I'm sorry you had a miscarriage. Well, but maybe you should have been married before trying to have a baby anyway. See? See?
I am not even for violence, okay? Not in this age. I'm not for violence. But honey, honey, I'm not even gonna say it. But I'm sure you may not even have to have the strength to check her.
I didn't.
You know?
I didn't. I was so shocked that she made that comment. I'm like, you
Mm,
tell somebody that just lost their baby? Okay. So I, yeah, I felt like I was having a breakdown. So I
yeah.
called a psychologist and he told me to call a psychiatrist or my primary care because
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like I was on edge.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, my mental health was not in a good place.
You know, I find that women who have miscarriage don't get the support as if they had lost their child when the child was born. They don't get that support. They don't get that sympathy. They don't get that empathy in the workplace, at home, even in your immediate home.
Mhm.
How was that for you? How did you manage, or did you get? I know you didn't get it at work, but how was it at home?
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, the story gets worse, but
Tell us, honey, because we got all day. we secured this seat and this time. Okay, we are reserved this time. Tell us the story. Let's get our tea. Get the tea.
well, um, right after I had my miscarriage, my
Hmm.
grandfather passed away.
Oh, so sorry to hear that. That is a double hit right there.
Well, when my family was doing the
Mm-hmm.
obituary, they didn't want to name my child as a great grandchild
Mm-hmm.
because no one knew that I was pregnant or yeah, so they didn't want to list it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like my baby never happened
Oh,
because it's not here. So I'm like, yeah, it was a lot at
yeah,
first.
yeah. So you basically were fighting outsiders and the people in your circle.
Hmm.
The struggle is real.
Yes.
So
So
now I understand why the title of your book is I Lost My Baby. Now let me find my mind. How did you find your mind?
through a lot of, well, through writing basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my counselor challenged me to start journaling, and I could not put the words on paper.
Mm-hmm.
It took me about 6 months to actually write something down.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just started writing things out, just writing things, how I feel,
Yes.
how people make me feel. So I decided to take all of that and make my book. But
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say that I found my mind through writing.
Yes. What kind of tips do you have in your book for mothers that have been through similar situations that, a miscarriage, a
Mm.
heart wrenching miscarriage? What kind of tips do you have in there for them to cope?
I first focus on healing your physical body. Go to the
Mm-hmm.
doctor. I mean, get yourself checked out. Then I focus on the mental part because that is going to take the most time. I encourage them to start writing. I encourage them to find a support group. And I encourage them to actually get a grief coach.
Yes. And do you would how would you say how long would you say the grief lasts when you've lost your child?
It never ends.
Hmm.
You just
I
learn.
And I ask that question because sometimes people say, well, you should be ready to go back to work now, or you should be ready to go back to normal now.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yes. I even have tips like that in my book
Mm-hmm.
because people will put your grief on their timeline. And I'm like, no,
It's not how it works.
no. This
Mm-mm.
is my process, and you can't tell
Yes.
me, you can't give me a time frame on when I should be healed.
Yes. Each person is different,
Mhm.
you know? Compounding the issue is some people, they have had losses a number of times before. So you can't just say, okay, you should have healed or you should get over it. That's the thing people say.
Ooh.
Fighting words. They say, it's time to get over it. Now, I know you are a meek girl, you're a meek woman, and so you wouldn't be punching people in the mouth and stuff like that. But I'm sure you felt like that, right?
Yes, I
Am I
do.
the only one? Am I the only one? And I'm not violent. I'm just saying, to be put in, to be spoken to like that after having had such a loss, it's
Mhm.
big, it's deep. How do you help? I know you have your book, and you have other ways of helping, and you have tips in there for women, but give us some advice of how can they find, because you did your research, resources exist now. How can they find some resources to help them cope with the family, with the co-workers, and sometimes with the husband or the partner?
Yes, I've seen that too. There's tons of resources online. It may not necessarily be good, but
Mm-hmm.
but during my research, I actually came up with a coaching program,
Yes.
and it's called Guilt to Greatness, where I turn each letter, guilt is an acronym, and I turned each letter into something positive
Yes.
to help them better understand what they're actually going through and how to heal.
What is the hardest thing about grief, you think?
Mhm. The hardest thing, I would say, just feeling like it's never gonna end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've felt like that before. That was hard
Mm-hmm.
because I remember.
Feeling like it wasn't going to end.
Mhm.
And what you felt like wasn't going to end, the feeling of despair, or the what did you feel wasn't going to end?
The feeling,
Mm-hmm.
because I can remember crying every day for a year.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Were you angry?
Yes, I was angry. I was angry with God. Yes, I was.
Okay. Now, when you're angry with God, what kind of conversation, or do you not even speak to Him? Do you what? How did that work? How does it go? What's the process for you when you were angry
When I
with
was
with God?
angry, I was just telling him, like, God, you know all of the things that I've gone through to try to
Mm-hmm.
get this child. Why would you give me a baby and then take it away?
Mm. And I've read that there are no perfect answers, but I've also read that loss makes us appreciate life so much more,
Hmm.
because you see how vulnerable life is, and so you start to appreciate, not immediately, it takes time, because we all need time to grieve, and we grieve differently, and we grieve you know at different time processes. So, but I've heard that Pastor TD Jake said, when you have that loss, it just makes you appreciate life so much more. Did you find that?
I did. I did. And I learned to show gratitude in everything that I do, because another thing that people like to say is all things happen for a reason. And I know that that's not necessarily a good thing to say to
Hmm.
someone that has lost, but I knew that Had I not had my miscarriage, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today.
Mm,
So
wow.
it did happen for a reason.
Do you think women develop post-traumatic stress disorder from miscarriages?
Yes.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I did a study with on women or with women about women that has had miscarriage when I was writing my book, because one of the stories in there is a woman's story of her miscarriage. And in doing that research, I found that almost, I think it says 1 in 3 women who had a miscarriage develop post traumatic stress disorder. And they don't even know that. They just know that when the birth date come around or the time that the loss happened, they get really emotional,
Hmm.
or they get anxiety, or they start to get evidence of depression. So I found that it's just not a grieving for these women. It goes on for years. The
Hmm.
trauma, the stress, it goes on for years.
Hmm.
Even, yeah, years later. Yeah.
I definitely experience it. I still do, but now I try to change it into something positive.
Yes.
Like, I'll do a balloon release, or
Mm-hmm.
I'll read a chapter from my book with candlelight.
Yeah.
I just try to make everything positive.
That's beautiful. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think ways that women can deal with this trauma and the grief is by doing something positive. What else do you suggest, or what are other suggestions that you have for mothers to help to cope?
Um,
You just gave some really good ones, so continue.
it just depends on how they want to um, turn their thing into something positive.
Yes.
Uh, Another thing that I would suggest is, because I built a whole business. They may not want to go as far as to doing all of that, but
Mm-hmm.
I did build a whole business off of um, my grief and my pain.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest just not sitting there in their grief, because it's very easy to just sit there and cry all day.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can
Yes.
change that into something positive.
So
Uh,
so take the time you need to grieve, but don't grieve all day.
yeah, don't stay there.
Don't stay there. So now, in order for you not to stay there, you have to be intentional, right?
Yeah.
You have to be intentional about how you're going to spend your day.
Yes. Very
You
intentional.
Yeah, like, okay, so if I start crying after an hour, I need to stop myself and do something else. Do
Mhm.
something. Yeah. Gardening is good. I think gardening is one way of getting your mind. And if you don't have, space for a garden, you can just do some gardening in a pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Planting. Yeah.
I
Say
like
that
to
again.
paint.
Say that.
I like to paint.
Oh, yes. Get creative.
Hmm.
Yes. We are made in the image of a creator. We can create. Yes. So those are just find things that maybe even new to you, you know?
Yeah.
Make a plan to get yourself, because you can go deep. You can go deep if you don't stop yourself and give yourself time to cry and time to live. You can go deep down into depression, and it can turn from depression to psychosis. It just can go on and on. So, yes, thank you for delving into that with me. I really appreciate it because it's a subject that people don't get to talk about.
That's true.
Women don't get to talk about, even amongst other women. They're afraid, they're ashamed, they don't want to be seen as that woman because we feel like if you don't have a baby, you're not a woman. That's not true. That is not true.
Whew. Unfortunately, a lot of people feel like that.
And that is not true.
It's not.
There are plenty of women that were born women. That's what I'm talking about. There are plenty of women that were born women that they cannot have children for one reason or another. They cannot have children, but it doesn't make them any less of a woman. It doesn't make you any less of a woman. You are strong. You are a woman. You have your femininity. You you can continue to give back to the world in the way you choose. It doesn't have to be with a child, but if you choose to spend time with your nieces or nephews or someone, maybe your best friend's child. I know someone who she's never had a child and she's well into her 60s, and she spends so much time whenever she's in town with her friends' babies or their grandchildren. She spent time with them, and she said it brings her so much joy. So you don't know how healing you can be for someone else to have that love, and then you get to give the child back, honey. You go over, you bring the gifts, you play for an hour, even 3 hours, okay? Spend a day. And and then, you nicely hand them back over to the parents.
Yes.
Yes. So you can find other ways to incorporate having children into your life. Just be intentional about it.
Yeah.
Be intentional about that plan. Oh, thank you so much. You have touched on a topic that is really important, and important to me, not because, I've been there, but because I'm a woman. I'm a woman. And I know that the desire for having children sometimes runs so deep. So thank you for sharing that. And don't ever give up.
I won't.
That's right. Have a little talk with God.
Yes.
Don't ever give up until you just can't anymore, but don't ever give up. I appreciate you. Now, you were telling me about the process when you were developing the support group, how hard that was for you, but how was the writing process for you?
It was, at first, it was equally as hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
At first, it was hard to put those words on paper. But I went through like a boot camp, and they taught me a different way of how to actually get it written. Yeah, it was better. The process became better when I was taught how to like actually ask questions and interview myself. So that's how I wrote this book.
Nice. So, did you find it healing while you were writing the book?
At first, I was reliving it. And I wrote my first anthology during the pandemic. So it was hard. It was tough. Just sitting there reliving all of this stuff. But it became easier with time.
Yes.
Yeah, it became easier.
So you think it was, the writing process was a part of the healing journey?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What kind of advice would you give women we're not about miscarriage now. We're talking about polycystic ovaries. What kind of advice would you give to women with that? We don't want to overlook that because there's a big population that truly suffers, and nobody talks about that too. Polycystic ovary syndrome.
Hmm. Um, the advice I would give is just don't give up. Don't let the because you can get facial hair.
Hmm.
You
Wait,
can.
first of all, tell us what is polycystic ovary syndrome, because we can't assume that everyone knows that who are listening. So tell us a
Okay.
little, give a little background. Give us a little background first. Thank you very much.
Polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS, is where you have tiny follicles in your ovaries and they don't mature,
Hmm.
so you don't ovulate. And they can be insulin resistant. That's why they don't actually mature. I had insulin resistant polycystic
Hmm.
ovary syndrome. So I had to figure out a way to actually get my body to respond to the insulin.
Hmm.
And I lost weight. And some people have it worse than others because some people actually have the facial hair and um, dark spots on their skin. It can be rough, but
Hmm.
yeah, just manage it the best way you can. Go to the doctor and let them treat it however the best they can because some say it doesn't actually go away,
Right.
uh but the symptoms can be alleviated.
What are some of the common symptoms for polycystic ovary syndrome?
I didn't have a lot of them, but
Or didn't you didn't know? What age were you when you found, I mean, pardon me, but what age were you when you found out about
I
PCOS?
was, oh my goodness, I was in my 20s.
Okay.
I was in my 20s, but it was real new.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't learn the things that I didn't learn most of the things about PCOS until I moved to Atlanta and I started going to specialists.
Mm-hmm.
But um, what other symptoms can you have?
I know that there are, I'm a nurse practitioner, so I'm gonna just jump in right here. Some people have irregular periods or no periods at all.
Mhm.
Some people, they have difficulty, some women have difficulty getting pregnant because of the irregular ovulation, or they have no ovulation. Some people have hirsutism, they call it, and it's excessive hair growth. And
Okay.
that's usually on the face, or even all the way up here on the face, on the chest, on the back, on all different parts of your body. And there is that weight gain.
Mhm.
And so it's combined, it's not just one thing, it's a combination of these things: thinning hair or hair loss. And that's mainly hair loss on the head. Oily skin or acne, the acne is different. And so if you have a few of these symptoms, you should seek, you know, help. Go to your physician or your practitioner and tell them what you're experiencing, because some people, it doesn't get diagnosed until very late in their womanhood.
Mhm.
So yeah. And there are so many different ways to help. It can cause all kinds of menstrual difficulties, but there's so many ways to get help. So yeah, one of the main problems though is infertility and weight gain.
Mhm.
That's what I hear a lot of people complain about: the infertility, the weight gain. So please speak to your practitioner about what your symptoms, what you're feeling, so you can get the treatments that you need as soon as possible. Right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for shedding the light on two great topics. You know, people don't want to talk about these things, but they're important because we as women go through these things. So we have to bring it to the forefront. When we talk about it, as a matter of fact, now we're empowering other women to not just talk about what they're going through, but to see their practitioners and bring it up and be like, hey, I'm going through this. You're empowering them to take care of themselves and take charge of their health.
Yeah.
So you go, Dr. Hinson, up in here, up in here. I appreciate you. Now, who are your biggest inspiration?
My biggest inspiration.
Yes, you didn't know that one was coming, huh?
No, I didn't.
Yes, ma'am.
uh,
Nobody inspires you?
they do, but I don't know how to.
Well, you can give me a few. If you have more than one, Dr. Hinson, because you are that kind of a student, okay? You got all the answers. So
Uh,
you can give me more than one.
okay. Oprah is one of my biggest. Yes.
Okay, my girl. She comes up all the time.
Yes. Oprah is one of my biggest inspirations. Tyler Perry.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Beyonce.
Yeah. Oh, I love them three. Oh, yes, I do. I do. I do.
I do
Good
too.
ones. Yes.
I do too.
You
Because
could go on and on, but those were three great, choices. Really great choices. Now, as a child growing up, did you learn anything that you would take on and pass to your future child? Okay. Or children, because God, he'll just twist the whole story around.
I would just tell my child, um, do what inspires you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let what don't let other people try to tell you the way that your life should go.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, because growing up, everyone thought that I should be a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I started out in pre-med mathematics,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, that's not what I want to do. I know that
Yeah.
everybody expects me to do, but I don't want to do that.
Yes. Yeah. So, at what point did you like stop, everybody? I'm not going that route. I'm turning back. I'm going a different route. I'm doing my own thing. What part of the journey were you?
I was actually a freshman in college.
Okay, she had made it. You almost got pushed right through. Somebody's gonna push you through the door.
I was a freshman in college, and I started out in pre-med mathematics, and I'm like, I really don't want to go to med school, but I didn't
Yes.
want to lose all of my credits,
Uh huh.
so I transferred to biology and medical technology.
Beautiful. We are happy you did because you would have been a one unhappy person up in there, especially through COVID time.
Mhm.
I did not ask for this. Somebody pushed me here. Now look what.
Yeah.
No, I was saying the opposite. I was like, I'm so grateful I get to be here. So I'm glad went the route that you really wanted to. It's a blessing to learn lessons from your experience and teach them. As a matter of fact, it's our responsibility to teach them. Do you find yourself teaching the young people around you? Uh, are you that kind of person?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, right?
Yes, I am. Oh my goodness.
Teaching them what to do and where to go.
Hmm.
Okay. Let me ask you three questions, Dr. Hinson. I love to ask my guests these three questions because I get to nosy a little bit in your business. And I also get to find out some of your values. And so I love to ask these three questions to all of my guests. And here they go.
Okay.
What is one bold promise that you can share with the world that you know will help them live a better life?
One bold promise that I can share is that sharing your story can always be life changing for someone else. Always share your story.
Yes, I like that. That's a good answer because I absolutely believe in sharing your story and standing on your story. Yes, so good, good answer. What is a bold statement you can share with your audience that you will know will cause a paradigm shift? That you know will cause a paradigm shift?
People will always remember the way that you made them feel.
Mm.
So it's always good to just be kind to people because
Hmm.
you never know what someone may be going through.
Yes. Beautiful. I like that one. I like that one a lot. People will always remember how you make them feel.
Mhm.
What's a bold move you'd like to make in the future? Ooh.
Yes, a bold move I'd like to make in the future
Mm-hmm.
is to become a full time entrepreneur.
Yes.
I mean, I like medtech, it pays
Mm-hmm.
the bills, but I want my business to be my biggest blessing.
Yes. You know, I'm going to invite you to come over and learn some entrepreneurial genius stuff that I've been learning that's going to help you make that goal. Yes. I'll invite you. I'll send you an invitation. Yes, we have a bold marketing school.
Wow,
Yeah, bold publishing have a bold marketing school, and we just teach you marketing. And it's not just marketing your book, it's how to create a seven-figure income. So
wow.
we going there. Okay. If
Okay.
that's what you want, we're going there.
Yes.
All right. I really appreciate you and your time. And before you go, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. But please tell our audience, how can they connect with you?
They can connect with me on all social media platforms at
Mm-hmm.
I am Dr. Kameika Hinson.
Mm-hmm.
But the quickest way, I mean, I have a free gift for everyone.
Yes, I love it. I'm
Yes.
getting one too, right?
Of course.
I love gifts.
But it is my grief release checklist, and it gives you 8 tips on how to um, relieve, release your grief. And the website to go to that is www.griefreleasechecklist.com.
You are so kind. This is important stuff. This is powerful stuff. This is a gift. Okay. And so while y'all go over there and grab that, I want y'all to drop your email. Leave her your email. So, because you're getting this valuable information, I'm sure when she's coming through in your town, you would want to meet up with Dr. Hinson and share your testimonial with her. So, drop your email, okay? Also, once you get over there and you get these tips, share them with someone else. Yes,
I like that.
beautiful. Yes, share them with someone else. Thank you again, and I appreciate you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing those tips and the tools, and for sharing your story and sharing your heart. You know, sharing your story is so important because you connect with other people, but you don't know who you're connecting with over there on the other side of this interview. You don't know who God placed to listen to get that comfort, that healing process beginning. So thank you so much for coming on and being obedient and having the grace to share your tools and tips and your beautiful book You guys, please go over there and grab that book. Where can they grab the book?
Actually, once they download the free checklist,
Yes.
the next page will ask them if they want to purchase the book.
And of course, you want to purchase the book, right, guys? Yes, go over there and support. That is a beautiful thing that Miss Hinson is gifting you. So please go over there and get the book. Okay. Thank you so much. If you would like to write a book, please send an email to authordnicholson@gmail.com. Every story has a message. Every message deserves to be shared. And every lesson that you've learned from your losses is a lesson to teach someone to stand on. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.